Yo, what's up, guys? DUI Duelist here, back at you again with more Zing nonsense. And today, I'm making a video. Nice change of pace, right? 6 months of inactivity. You might think, video would be, pretty nice time to throw out a video. Nothing's going on. Everyone's in lockdown. Perfect environment. Unfortunately, haven't been as consistent as I wanted to be. Been going through some stuff, but you know, I'm thinking about getting back on that horse. I have a lot of different video ideas. They're just kind of like intensive. I think I kind of want to like level up my content in terms of quality before I really get into it, just for like the benefit of you guys. And I also just wanted to start off something easy, something simple. I feel bad not uploading anything for so long. Because I know this deck is really hard to pilot when you don't have a lot of material to work off of. Like the last relevant video I made, like probably like doesn't even have that much to review off of. And if you're not in my Discord, you're kind of left out of the loop on how this deck operates and stuff. So, I'm sorry about that. And we're just gonna do an easy video, something simple, just to get back into it. Um, First, we're gonna look over the list, and then what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna do a bunch of test hands. I'm gonna break down the hands and how you play around hand traps, why they can combo, how and how they can't combo, stuff like that. I think hopefully it'll be informative and helpful for you guys. So looking at the list, we're at 49 cards because recently I cut Towdy, you know. And the reason Towdy was cut was because Shadal Wunda, the main card that, we played Towdy to out when it was extremely popular in invoked variants and stuff, and even like in Orcus even though they have Ding, whatever. Is not very popular. All the invoked variants that I'm aware of that are competitively viable, they usually rely on Dragma, as their sub archetype mix. A couple, run like invoked Dragma Shadal, but I don't really see it that often. And some people just still use straight up invoke Shadal if there's something they're comfortable with, and if they like, I don't know, the floodgatey like power options they have, you know. So you're never. It's not like you're never gonna see a Winda, but I feel like there isn't enough presence of Winda in the format to, you know, to justify running Towdy, because Towdy is inherently like 20% of the time it's a Garnet, because you have to hard draw full pendulum scales for it to be even usable, right? It's not a Yingzi you can normal summon, which is its biggest flaw. So already it adds like another factor in our hands when you draw it. So I cut it. Just wasn't enough justification. I mean, it's just personal preference. Um, if you think you need like if there's any other monster in the format that's like kind of floodgatey, that's smaller than 2200 or something, or exactly 2200, then Towdy will start to creep its way back in the list, just because having a in engine archetype like out is really useful. But until then, you just take a little seat, take a break, just get to chill out. There's it's also nice to have Towdy just as an option, level 5, stuff like that. Some situations where that comes up, but easily manageable. That's why I cut it. So I'm just at 49, trying to figure out, like, not the best number to be looking at, in your list. Not even. It's kind of ugly. 49. Like, just put something in there, put an upstart or something, right? In terms of the extra deck, it's basically the same, except I replaced Boral Sword with Access Code. His Access Code is already like easily reaching like 4,300, 5,300 attack, depending on its material. So it's already like half of an OTK enabler already. And our deck has like no real issues OTKing, since we have, Shaman, we have like backseal loops and stuff like that. So nothing to worry about on that end. And also the removal is just really, really strong. Spell speed for non-targeting destruction, which is, obviously destruction isn't the best, but in my opinion, having being destruction removal isn't really that relevant. Nothing that really floats that you'd be afraid of hitting with this thing, especially since the majority of the time you're hitting back row with this. Like if they have a floating monster, you have backseal plays, you'll have like unicorn, you'll have stuff like that. So not a big issue. I just think this is insane. This is an insane card. Power creeping a lot of a lot of other cards have come out. So welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh. But yeah, I'm just running this as both an OTK enabler and as a as like a blow up, like wipe the board of the opponent's monsters kind of thing, or back row. So it's just really good card. And this up here is Zephyr War. This is I'm thinking about a theory of putting this card in the deck as a Megaclops out, because Megaclops, in my opinion, is like the new Winda, but to a lesser extent. It's basically just like a towers, but it's infinitely worse because you can't beat over it. So like 90% of the conventional outs you would have for towers are gone. So I was thinking of running Zephyr War. We're never going to be able to use it as a hand trap, unfortunately, because optimally we'll never have 2 Zephyr Scales. And if you do have 2 Zephyr Scales, you're already kind of in a bad position anyway, because Metalfoes are what get the generation, they get the engine to generate advantage and get it going, you know. But the fact that it's just searchable, easy, you know, boom, it's disruption anyway, so it's not like only good against Megaclops. You know, just having a pop could be relevant, you know, if you're playing against a deck that likes Mystic Mine. This isn't out to Mystic Mine. Even if you're under Mystic Mine, you could still search it if the only monster you control is Zephyr Niu and you pop it. But at the same time, I'm not too worried about Mystic Mine, because you could just make it so you only have 1 monster or 0 monsters, and then the Mystic Mine will kill itself. But, you know, something to think about, something I've been considering. It's still like, it's arguably a bigger Garnet than Touty, so there's the only reason why it's just not going this deck immediately. You know, just sharing my thoughts out there. But other than that, I mean, the size change, personal preference, like I said, you know, I mean, definitely the XYZ Encore is something that a lot of people would probably not side, but, you know, it's just something I do. But yeah, let's just go straight into the test hands. So we'll get to see what cards can get ashed and will be okay, what cards can't get ashed will be okay. So looking at this hand, the biggest like choke point is getting hand trapped. These are only tuner access. These are only Zing access, so this getting hand trapped is really bad. So what I would do is use Oracle Zephyr first. We can play through without this Oracle resolving. I don't know if you guys seen the combo where you have 3 Metalfoes. 3 of any Metalfoes and any Zing that's normal summonable, except Chiwin, I think. Yeah, except Chiwin. And you can still do full combo. Actually, I can show that right now. So let's say Oracle gets Ash, right? You're playing against an opponent, you know, it's kind of subpar. He ashes the first thing you use. So now you just have these 4 cards. Just imagine this very prominent, like, bright Zephyrath is not just looking straight at you. You just have these 4 cards. You might be wondering, oh, how am I going to combo with this? So what we're going to do, the fact that we open Painful Decision makes this combo higher value. You'll see in a minute why. I'll explain as it happens. But for now, we're just going to activate Gold Driver. So they're down in Ash, right? So we don't have to worry about Ash. If they just happen to open 2 hand traps that are relevant, then I don't know, I guess they were better than you. That's pure skill, baby. You know, just draw 2 hand traps. That's pure skill, baby. That's what it's all about. So what you're gonna do is pop B in. We're gonna set Fusion this time, interestingly enough. This is basically like, if you really want to think about it, it's kind of like the Jiaotu effect of Metalfoes hands. You know, think about like an alternate dimension, parallel universe of Jiaotu effect. So with B in effect, we're gonna summon Chiwin specifically. We're gonna fusion summon using the extra 2 Metalfoes in our hand for Mithrium. And the reason why the Painful Decision is really nice is because we have an extra Metalfoes name. So we get to, usually we'd have to shuffle back the fusion to use Mithrium effect, because we'd only have 3 names, the 2 materials and fusion. But since we have an extra 4th name, you get a free draw. Is basically why Painful Decision also nice. Oh, a card we can't use. Okay. Alright. So now we're going to use Mithrium effect. We're going to, any 2. I guess these 2 is better. And the reason why I'm picking these 2 is because the Steeland is level 2 or lower. And so depending on how this plays out, we might have him left over on the field and that means that we have a Trishula play active because the Metalfoes counter that activates from 9 pillars will summon a level 1, the Bismugear. So Bismugear plus Steelin plus a level 6 Locust will be Trishula. Just like slight optimizations like that. Depending on how this plays out, we might not even have the Trishula play active, but just having the option, it's pretty good. So the Mithrium will actually bounce our own Gold Driver, so we get a second pop. It's pretty important. Then we're going to scale it back again, I guess. We're gonna make Yazi, and Mithrium will float. And the reason why I make Yazi is just because we want to summon a Zing from our deck and get another tuner back from Chiwin effect. So we're just gonna pop it. We're gonna set combination. You lose the Yazi for the rest of the game, but if the alternative to not having the Yazi is not having a board, I'll take it. Not like this extra deck's lacking removal anyway, so we'll be fine. So Yazi effect, Chiwin effect, they both get to activate because we never floated with Chiwin, we just summoned it, so it's still alive. So we're gonna summon Chiwin, and we're gonna summon Zephyr. And now we're gonna link these two into Needle Fiber, and then we get the Jiaotu. So now we have a Baxia. The Baxia can pop the combination, and we get our other scale. So we're actually in a pretty good position here. Boom. We don't want to use anything. We don't want to shuffle back anything. Oracle stacking. We're gonna search anyway, so anything we stack is gonna get shuffled. So no reason to activate it. No reason not to activate, I guess, either. If you really want to use Oracle, just to, I don't know. If you forget the monster count in your deck, like what monsters you have left in your deck, like something like that. Like let's say you use Painful Decision, and you're wondering, oh, how many Gold Drivers do I have left? Because I drew one. I don't know if I can. Something like that. But I never use it, so unless I'm trying to chain block, but that's for like during play. That's different from what we're doing right now. So combination, pop the Jiaotu, and somebody back Jiaotu specifically. Oh, I'm dumb. Oh wait, it's fixable. So let me explain to you that instant thought process I just had. So step by step. The reason why we summoning back Jiaotu is because the only Yangzing access we have that hasn't already used its effect. Like, BN is already floated, so it can't float again. And that's really important because we don't have Chiwin in our graveyard anymore. So we have to make this Jiaotu float back into a Chiwin. So that's actually pretty notable. And the reason why I thought I messed up is because I summoned it in the Halki Fibrak zone. And now I won't be able to Pendulum Summon too, but thankfully, I'll just pop it. We're gonna set counter because we have to set counter for the final board, to get more removal, and Jiaotu will float into our second Chiwin. All right, so now we have both zones opened up. Pendulum Summon 2, and from this point, you've got a lot of options. If you're in a pretty good position to be doing stuff. We're gonna add 9 pillars. We're going to link for Shaman using Chiwin and Baxia. Oh, it doesn't matter. I thought we misplayed, but it doesn't matter. As long as the materials you use for Shaman still put Baxia in the graveyard to be revived again, then that's all that matters. So normally we wouldn't have the Zephyr in hand because we're assuming the Oracle got Ash. So thanks to the play, we just get the Ash. We just get to discard the card we drew off Fusion, which is the actual Oracle, for Baxia. And then Baxia will probably pop. If we didn't have an Oracle here for a free pop, we'd probably pop the Bismugear, just because Bismugear replaces itself as searches in the end phase when it's destroyed. But in this scenario, I think I'll just pop the Oracle. It's no big deal. We're gonna summon Jiaotu, because it's the only viable option there. If we summon back Bean, so the reason we don't summon back Bean there is because when 9 Pillars pops a Bean, Being's floating effect can't special summon another copy of itself. It says except, like a lot of cards say that, like except its own name. So that means we can't have Being summon from deck, Chiwin from the graveyard to make Herald. So we have to summon Jiaotu, because Jiaotu can summon Being. And the Chiwin that's going to be in our graveyard will summon out, and then we can make Herald for our next negate. So now we'll just link these three into Apollousa. Thankfully, a lot of these expensive cards in the deck that, like, a lot of players wish they could play are getting reprinted. That's really nice. And then we set 9 pillars, and we pass turn. And this is actually a really strong board. I wish this was YGO Pro. I could have an opponent to activate a card that could show you how it plays out. But we're going to have to do this a bit scuffed. This is actually probably the strongest board you can get in this deck, honestly. Except, I guess, if the Apollousa was 4 material. But what it's going to be is Apollousa is, monster negates, right? You have the pillars, which when popping the Zing will make 2 negates, because the pillars will pop Jiaotu. Jiaotu will summon Being from the deck, Chiwin from the graveyard, to make the Herald. We have the Stealing left over, so that means what we summon off counter will be our second Bismugear, which I think we still have, hopefully. Let me check. We're out of Bismugears. Oh, nope, we're not. We still have 1 Bismugear in our deck, because I know that the list plays 2. So the counter will summon Bismugear. 2 plus 1 plus the Locust, this would turn into, is Trishula. So it's, I guess you want to make and Locust hand rips, and the monster gets banished because of Herald effect. So if you wanted to break it down into like a clickbaity kind of title thing, it's 5 negates plus 2 cards ripped out of their hand plus a banish on field, presumably, because you wouldn't want to immediately Trishula. You want away from like set a card or something, and possibly banishing a card from the graveyard too. So they're probably not going to be playing through this. Probably not. They'd have to have like a roster mode, because even if they have Dark Ruler no more, they have to use something else first. If they use Dark Ruler for first, we're just gonna negate it with the pillars. So they have to activate something else. So now there are 5 cards in hand, and then we're immediately going to do the Locust play, right? We're gonna do a Locust play. They're down another card. It would still mess us up pretty bad. You could outplay it if you think they have the Dark Ruler. Like if it's game 2, you want to outplay the Dark Ruler, you can immediately Synchro to Omega or Trishula, take another card in their hand, and so then they're down to 3 cards, right? And then they Dark Ruler, and now they have 2 cards, right? And they still have a whole board to have to out and play against that floats. So it's up to you how you want to do it. But even with Dark Ruler, they still have to out the board with 2 cards. And the first card they have to activate has to be something you'd have to negate. Honestly, so they'd have to really force the 9 pillars out. And the main way they would do that would be using a card that's committing to a play. Like normal summon Metalfoes, and then link it off, and they get Metalfoes graveyard effect, for example. We would even 9 pillars that way. We actually have Apollousa to cover all monster effects. That's even harder. They have to activate like a spell and trap. Like or they have to out the Apollousa first and then activate something to bait. Yeah. So it puts an opponent in a really subpar situation. And we played through an Ash. I wish I could rewind and use the same hand to see like if they didn't Ash the Oracle, what we would do. But I really want to show off that 3 Metalfoes and a Zing besides Chiwin combo, because I think it's a really nice little tool to have in your kit, because it does come up, situations like that, or just, if that's the only play you have. So we're going to do a couple more hands. So this hand doesn't do all that much. We're still going to try and play through it or play it out, but we don't have Metalfoes, but we get to make a decent board, but we don't have any longevity that the Metalfoes offer, so we just don't have a Metalfoes in our hands. So what we're going to do, activate Oracle, we're going to add Zephyraxy as our low scale. I guess this makes Zephyr War, if you decided on playing that, or if I decided on playing that, whatever happens first. And yeah, I guess we get the Zephyr War hand trap. We get to search it if like next turn or something. So that's nice. But so we're gonna pendulum summon for 2 here. This is basically like the anti-Nibiru board is what this turns out being. You can summon everything in defense mode. Pretty hand trap susceptible. If this gets hit, then we don't have any disruption, but Then we're just gonna normal summon the Pulao. Set 1, pass. So what this is gonna be, so we have a couple different options. So after 9 pillars, you could pop the Swanee, summon Chiwin, and then Chiwin plus Pulao plus the Zephyr Niu, 1+1+6, would be Baxia. That actually is not a bad play because when you synchro summon with the Zephyr Niu, you get the Oracle proc, and then you get to stack. You could stack the Metalfoes you're missing on the top of your deck. And then if the Baxia lives, or you could use Baxia effect to shuffle, the Zaphraxi back or something like that. Then you get the scale. Pretty good position to be in. You could do, instead of Chiwin, you could do Jiaotu. So 2+1+6 into Trishula. That's also another option. But the thing about Trishula is it can't destroy your scale like a Baxia second effect, or like even a Baxia shuffle if they only set 2 cards and try to end turn. So even by itself is a pretty good board. More so against like combo decks. Wait for them to get 3 monsters on board after you pillars like a starter or something, or or some like high value card you have to negate. They get 3 dudes on board. Like let's say you're playing against Infernoble, they have like Isolde plus like a tuner, and they're about to get another monster on board and then make Needle Fiber because they think they don't have anything. You can just quick synchro into the Trishula, the Baxia preferably, and then if they can't play through that, you get the Metalfoes set up, and they're probably gonna die that turn. And you have Chiwin set up in your graveyard from inherently just going for the Baxia route. So actually not that bad of a hand just because of how it turned out. Yeah. And I guess like another interesting thing is, I don't know. With a hand like this, if you 9 pillars the Zephyr Niu, you get to add Zephyr War, and then you have 2 Zephyr scales, so you get to activate as a hand trap. Probably the option, I don't know. This is options, like depending on the matchup. Like if you're playing against like a Mystic Mind deck, and you're playing against a Mystic Mind deck game 2, that might be the thing you do, right? Like 9 pillars, 1 Mystic Mind, and then pop the second one if they have it, or like pop they summoned it off Metalfoes or Demise, something like that. But it's actually not bad, like at first I'm thinking about looking at the hand, it didn't look that good because they had no Metalfoes, but the way that it actually like plays out and Oracle stacking being a thing, it's not bad. It's not bad. So let's see. We'll do like 5 hands. So this is the 3rd hand. This hand doesn't. We don't have a tuner, so we don't get to make the best board, but we're still gonna play through it, just like the last hand, because it turned out to be something decent, which is pretty nice to see. We're gonna Scales of Wrath. We're gonna Scales of Wrath, get the Zephyr Niu access for our for negates and stuff. We're gonna scale this guy. And so what we could do, I was thinking if I wanted to fusion summon first, because if we do fusion summon and then get a draw, that could be a tuner, I guess. Yeah, we could do that. So what we're gonna do, it's up to you if you wanna fusion summon before or after the pendulum summon. I think I'd want to do it before, obviously, because we still have our normal summon, so I guess it doesn't really matter thinking about it. But we'll just we'll do it before. We'll do it before, see how it plays out, and then we'll decide afterwards if it was correct to do it after. So let's see what we draw. Oh, there we go. That's actually pretty lucky. um, Man, it's actually insane. It's actually really lucky. So the fact that we drew specifically this too means that we don't have to use Mithrium F, which is pretty relevant. So we're just gonna pen to Zephyrin EU. Effect's gonna activate. If that gets ashed, honestly, not the worst thing in the world. We can still make a decent board. Synchro these two in Abaxia. Man, just the way these cards is like the way these cards play out. You know, you think this is really unlikely, but there's so many different tiny combinations of cards like this that happen. They create these unique scenarios. It's kind of why this deck is kind of like, you know, pretty consistent, decently. You know, in my opinion, you'd be surprised how you go in the deck creator with this list. You just keep shuffling. You see how all these hands are like full combo. You can play like through one hand trap in certain instances. You know, there's obviously every hand almost. I'd say like at least 70% of hands, 60% of hands, can play through a hand trap, except in like one specific instance, and it's not a consistent like choke point like for other combo decks. Like let's say like you just only have one painful decision, it's your only Metalfoes access. If they don't ash that, then ash is pretty irrelevant for the rest of the turn, something like that. So you know. So yeah, back here we shuffle away the Zifrath because this doesn't have any pops anymore. So then when we make Needle Fiber and summon Chiwin, we want to pop the Chiwin to not only get it into the graveyard of different Yang Zing out, but also Metalfoes counter. Get that set up. So set combination, which we hard drew because we're good at the game. How it works is how you do things. Counter or combination, add Bismuth. So what's really interesting here is if they saved Ash this whole time, for whatever reason, they didn't want to Ash Zephyr Neo. I guess they thought it's just one negate we were gonna end on. Which I thought too. You know, if we didn't get the tuner access, or we got another like random monster or something, like another Metalfoes, we would just end on like 9 pillars or Divine Strike plus IP or something. And then next turn we could do stuff because if we 9 pillars is Zephyr Neo, we get a Fraxi, and that'll be our tuner access. So if their hand isn't the best, or you know they can't play through for some reason, then we can start popping off next turn. But since we drew the tuner, look at the position we're in now. It's pretty good. So now we're going to. Do I want to activate? I guess. Yeah. We'll activate it. We're just gonna bounce the silver, I guess. Why not? Just the only reason why is just to get some pieces back of our engine back in our deck, to get the combination back. You know, just make it last a little longer. If we didn't pop the Oracle, I guess in hindsight, actually no, it's correct to pop the Oracle to set Metalfoes Fusion, because if we didn't draw a tuner, then we just destroyed our scales, and that's no bueno. So it was correct to pop the Oracle. But if we didn't pop Oracle because we're just like 2020 vision to the future, then the Bismuth or the Mithrium could have bounced the Oracle and we would have used it next turn. So that's something else also to think about, that you know Mithrium has that capability. We have not Pendulum summoned. Oh, did we? Oh, duh, we did. Okay, whatever. So we're gonna make Needle Fiber using specifically these two for a couple reasons. Because we activate both. I don't think the chain blocks. Yeah, it doesn't chain block. I don't think. I forget. I don't know how it looks like on Edo Pro, but the activation conditions for both of them met at the same time. I believe they have the same wording on their effects. So let me just check. If this card, you can. If this card, you can. So I think. Don't quote me on this. I probably should have checked with the judge. I think I did check a long time ago, but now I forget if that's just my imagination. But I'm pretty sure that chain blocks the Hulky Fibrax effect. So if they did hold the Ash this whole time for whatever reason, for something like Hulky Fibrax, or like if they held, they held Gamma for whatever reason, Now they'd have to gamma the Mithrium effect, which is, whatever. Doesn't really affect their board that much. Or they have to just not use Ash. I mean, the Ash will still be impactful here because we're gonna pop the Chi-Win. And if they Ash here, then we'll still have Pillars live because we have Baxia. And then we'll have that plus Locust, and then the counter will activate still. So just missing one negate. You're just gonna lose one negate. It's basically what's gonna happen. We're gonna set counter here. What we could do is we could actually just summon another different Yang Zing and pop that for a combination just to get a lot more recursion on our board. Something to think about. Might as well get greedy. Get a little greedy, never hurt anybody. Probably gonna summon Jiaotu just because I don't want any matching attributes at the start of our board. So we're gonna be super polyable after the pillar resolves, but I don't want the matching attributes to allow them to activate super poly first thing. So we're gonna set combination. And then we're going to summon. In that case, I guess it was kind of dumb to summon Pulau because he was wind, and that was fine. But we're just gonna summon Jiaotu, I guess. Doesn't really matter, honestly. Not a huge deal. I guess the fact he's in attack positions, whatever. But so now what this is the standard board. Pillars into Herald. The Locust will go. The Halgi Firebrax will go into Locust. Rip one card. The counter will summon Bismugear, so then we'll make a Trishula, because we have a Stealing left over from Mithrium floating. The only loss we have is we do lose Mithrium access, but if the alternative is not making a strong board, that's just going to happen. But like I said, if we didn't draw a tuner, or we didn't draw a Yang Zing, for example, there's a lot of things we could have drawn. So it was a pretty decent gamble. I mean, we have any Yang Zing. We have Providence or Zafraxi as tuner access. We have obviously the Dino Wrestler. We have I think that's it. Just thinking off memory, I think that's it's more than half our deck is about half our deck we could have drawn into for tuner access. So I think it was worth gamble, and even if it didn't work, we would still just make the same board anyway. So no harm, no foul. But yeah, we just made another strong board. So reset again. We'll do 3 more hands. So this one and then something else, and then or maybe 2 more. I lost count. I said 5. I lost count just thinking through this. This hand's actually pretty decent, I guess. Let me think how you would do it. So I don't think this plays through Imperm, I guess. This doesn't play through Ash. Ash on a lot of things kind of mess us up. I mean, if they Ash our first search, they would just normal summon, like let's say they Ash the Painful Decision here. They Ash that, we'll just normal summon this, pop it for a counter. We'll have 1 negate plus some floating, and they're down a card, I guess. Most decks will be able to play through that if they're competitively viable. But otherwise, I mean, might Sarai, might live a while. If it's against I can't talk right now. It's been a while. If it's against a control deck, we'll definitely live. But they might snowball out advantage, just like depending on how they play it. Like let's say they normal summon Meluseek and then they attack. That's actually probably the best scenario against that deck, because not only does it deny Meluseek effects, but it shuffles into the deck, so they don't get the float either, which might be, depending on their hand, might be invaluable to resolve. But in this case, since we already hard drew the 9 pillars, you might be wondering, the only monster we have is Bixie. So how can we turn this one Bixie into, tuner to non-tuner monster? So what we're going to have to do, normal summon the Bixie, we're just going to pop it twice for whatchamacallit, for Zephyr Neo. Zephyr Neo, and instead of searching like Divine Strike, what we're going to search is Providence into Oracle into Zafraxi. so we can have the needle set up. Unfortunately, we have to use both our pops to do that, so we don't get to pop the Chi-Win to put it engraved with some of the different Yang Zing to get the extra negate. But you know, honestly, not a big loss. And the reason why we're going through Providence into Oracle is, number one, at this point, if they had an Ash, they would have used it already. So offering more opportunities where an Ash is relevant doesn't really matter, because if they had it, they would have used it, unless they just, I don't know, whatever. Even if they didn't use it here, same outcome as before, as I mentioned, just 9 pillars plus floating. But you know, so boom, Oracle, Zefraxi, Pen 2. Also, I guess not the same case for Imperm. When I said we could play through Imperm, I guess we couldn't, because there's no opportunity where they could have used it. If they Imperm the Zefraxi, for whatever reason, they don't know what it does, and they just throw one out, you're playing against somebody who's not the best. That's fine, because like I said, you just get 9 pillars. Now, the worst case scenario is they held Imperm this whole time just for Halki. That would suck. But, you know, what can you do? So we would summon Chi-Win. Like I said, we have nothing to pop it, so we set it. And so this is actually just like our standard board minus the Herald, which is significant. But with a hand like that, we managed to, you know, make a pretty good board. So it's going to be 9 pillars. We're going to pop the Chi-Win. We're going to summon either Pulao or Bixie. And then the counter will fill out for the rest. And we'll make Trishula on their turn, with Locust also discarding a card, you know, banishing another card from their hand, banish a card in field. So a pretty respectable board. Against control decks, I think it'll be pretty decent, depending upon, like, playing against Altergeist. This board is actually not bad, because if they don't activate, like, if they activate Extravagance first thing, the new 9 pillars that, then the normal summon Miloseek, you can immediately Trishula the Miloseek and get 2 cards out of their hand as well. And so that will really hurt. Like, they probably can't beat you with that many cards. If you've already set up, you know, you already have Pendulum Scale set up. We have both combination and counter set. We did hard draw fusion, but assuming we do activate the 9 pillars, we're going to be able to fusion summon anyway to put it back, you know, we might be able to actually activate combination effect. I know, like, a lot of this theory is an abstract. It'd be a lot easier, I guess, if we were in a game or something, and then I could give you theory in response to a scenario that's presented, rather than presenting the scenario hypothetically, right? You have to actually imagine that, and it's hard for me to convey what I'm thinking in my head, but hopefully, I'm just hoping that what I'm saying is you know, reaching you guys, or if it's a little helpful. And you know, bare bones scenario, it helps you see what I would do with certain hands, I guess. Worst case scenario. So with this hand, it's actually pretty interesting. So what I would do, add Zefrath with Oracle. Activate Zefrath. I will send Zephyrneo, like so. And then, this is actually a full combo by itself. But I think I'm going to greed. I'm going to be greedy. Yeah, we'll go for the advantage play. So, boom. I also forgot, I'm going to make a video about how to play around Nibiru if you get the read on it. Nibiru completely slipped out of my mind, because there's literally no opponent. Like, my opponent's already been hand looped right here. Shuffled all back into the deck, and then their deck got thrown off the table. So there's no Nibiru to worry about in this scenario, but I'll make a video like how to play around it. If you have a read on it, or if it's game 2, game 3, you expected they cited it in, because no one really main decks Nibiru unless they're playing like a hard going second deck or something like that, or some weird Adamantipator list that wants to main deck Nibiru, because it can be a play extender. It can be a play extender on your turn, you know, just something like that. That's another one of the video topics I was talking about. That's like kind of intensive. I have to I want to be able to make it decent, you know. But yeah, so for the greed play, we could just pendulum summon here. We have tuner access, right? We just do stuff. But in this instance, what I'm gonna do is pop this of Wrath for combination, right? And this lets us play through imperms, I guess. Like we're just gonna have so much value that there's nothing that could single-handedly imperm or ash or whatever. Like at this point, if they didn't ash the Oracle, they might ash the Souls. Now look, we just drew 2 cards. We're gonna search another one. Reason why this card's so powerful, man, this is insane. Just got to add like a million cards. Like with this, we have so many cards. It's kind of hard to like think of a board you make with all this advantage that you got for free. So, this is actually just pretty interesting to think about. But we're gonna add probably stealing. Just because, like I said, you want to think about possible Trishula. So you want to be able to add the level 2 or lower Metalfoes, be able to pendulum summon it out, do stuff. We just drew a high scale anyway, so it's not like if we didn't draw a high scale combination, we just add it with the search. But in this case, since we already drew a high scale, because we're good at the game, obviously, just do that. So at this point, what you could do, honestly, you could go ham. I mean, you could do the Dino Wrestler play, just pop the Bixie. Maybe not, because then we're out of pops, right? That's fine, I guess. I was thinking about making Baxia first before, but we'll just make it after the Pendulum Summon, so it's no big deal. Boom. Alright, and then we're gonna summon Chiwin directly. Just whatever. If we didn't, if this got ashed, then we'll just Pendulum Summon the Berserker Niu, and then actually, it was completely fine. So let's think about like this Chiwin isn't here. They ashed it. What you would do is not Pendulum Summon the Steal-In, but you would Pendulum Summon the Zephyr Niu. You make Baxia with these 2. You would pop the Bismugear, summon back Dino Wrestler, so then we could activate the Steal-In and have another pop that we need. Dino Wrestler, that's special summoned from the graveyard, plus the Baxia into Needle Fiber, and then Needle Fiber summon Chiwin, and then the Steal-In that we scale. Like I said, it's all abstract. I really just wish I could construct. That's the thing about Edo Pro test hands. I wish I could just construct a scenario for you guys to really help you out here, but I guess I can't really do that. So, but yeah, so we're playing through a lot with this hand. Honestly, this kind of baits Nibiru too, because I think we're at 5 summons now or something. No, we're at 4 right now. So yeah, we could actually do. We could have gone for a Baxia play just to bait Nibiru. We could hard make. Herald as a negate. A lot of different options you could do, but I wasn't really thinking about that because I'm not planning a real game. So I'll show you some replays of anti Nibiru stuff. But for now, just gonna link these 2 into Halki. Halki will summon Jiaotu. And now we just get to Pendulum Summon. Trying to think if I want to summon the Steal-In, because I think I'm going to go for a Shaman play. I make sure I have a card to discard, because I'm also going to add Divine Strike too. Something to keep in mind. And I would like to be able to keep both, be a little greedy. We just might miss out on the Trishula, but I think I'm okay with that. So yeah, we'll just see. We'll see if we regret it. We're not going to punch someone in the Steal-In. Gonna add Divine Strike directly. And so in this scenario, if you have a Chiwin in your graveyard already at this point, what you could do is pop the Yang Zing and summon 2 Chiwins and then use that for Shaman. It's something I do a lot, which is what we're gonna do now. Usually that play is done with scales, but it's also done a couple times. If you have a Baxia play already up, like a Baxia and an extra floating Yang Zing, we're gonna pop Jiaotu, summon probably just Bixie, I guess. I mean, Probably just Pixie. Okay. Boom. Boom. So even though we're using Chi-Win effect, we're still going to end with a Chi-Win in our graveyard just because of how we're sequencing our plays and what materials we're using. So we're just going to boom, make Shaman. So it was correct. It was actually correct not to summon this. So now, and this is actually the best board you can get. I was wrong. This is the best board that you can get in this deck. Now there's no way they can play through it. Even if, like, they literally have to have Ross Fearbone. I guess that's it. I can't really think of anything else. And I guess Nibiru, because we definitely didn't. Depends on when they used it. We didn't really do the plays to play around Nibiru. It's more that's my bad. I guess I should have been thinking about that. But yeah, so now we just summon back Jiaotu, I guess. I mean, it's whatever. Boom. Bismugear gets to activate. Set 2. The Divine Strike actually gets to banish the Zafra, so we don't even lose Zephyr access from our extra deck. And then we'll just link these 3 into Appaloosa. So now, this is the Trishula play, because we have Bixie out. Bixie plus the Bismugear we summoned from deck, plus the Locust. That's Trishula, plus Locust discarding another card. This Drought 2 is going to turn to another negate after Pillars. With the Chi-Win, we're going to have the Divine Strike, and the Appaloosa. This is actually, I think, the best board you can do in this deck. And I think most of this value, obviously, we hard you one of the counter drops, which is normally not good, but if you already have combo in your hand, then it's actually insanely good. You know, a situational Garnet. I guess it's still a Garnet and a good combo hand, because if you get Ash, you'd wish the Divine Strike or the 9 Pillars or something else. But if the hand was that good, we could have played through Ash pretty easily. We could have played through Gamma pretty easily. I think we could have baited Gamma. Probably would Gamma I don't know, maybe the Magician's Soul summon effect. It might Gamma that, Then we can play through. There's a lot of things you can play through. Imperm, I'd have to look this over in a replay or something, but I'm pretty sure. I'm trying to think of all the choke points. I don't think so. I don't think Imperm's relevant on anything, because they probably Imperm Zephyr effect, but we already hard drew 9 Pillars. So yeah, we basically put through any singular hand trap and maybe a couple combinations of hand traps, maybe. But like I said, I was thinking about more how to make the best board and in what instances. But in reflection, I think we could play through Ash Imperm. I think we're gonna play through. Just thinking about it in my head. Just because Souls is this is all possible because of Magician's Souls being so busted. I really hope this gets reprinted for you guys. I bought 3 copies and the price went a little down, but it's still pretty high. But not mandatory to play the deck, right? You can still do a lot of cool stuff with Vishuda. 3 copies of Vishuda. That definitely has its own unique interactions and stuff that no other card in this deck, not even Souls, really does. But I think Souls is just the highest value thing. But it's expensive, and I can't really say. I really cannot justify buying 3 copies when there's literally no events going on. But just playing it in your online deck, which was what everyone's doing, I think is. Well, I think it's worth it. It's free. Yeah. So I'm just gonna do the Bismugear ad, and how long is this already? This is already 50 minutes long, so we'll just do one more hand. Yeah, we'll do one more hand. Oh boy. Okay, another subpar hand. We're gonna play through it. So first thing I'll always do is get full scales from Zephrys. So get the Zefraxy. We're gonna special this. I think we're gonna special it. I believe. I don't know actually. We could, like I said, we have Oracle. So just like the earlier similar hand we had, we could set up a decent board. Um, we'll see. I think I'm not going to special the Dino Wrestler just because we're not normal summoning anything anyway. We're going to pend all the Yang Zings out of our hand. So I think we save the Dino Wrestler in case we get ashed or something. Boom. 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 Alright. Zephyr will add the Divine or 9 Pillars. I'm going insane here. And at this point, a couple, I guess there's a couple different plays you could do. You could still needle, I guess. So we'll just go for like the best board, I guess we can do. Normal summon the Dino Wrestler. Let me think about this, see if I mess up. So what I'm thinking is we're gonna Baxia using the Dino Wrestler and the Zephyr Neo. We're gonna pop the Jiaotu. Pop Jiaotu for Chiwen. No, I don't know. I think there's a way to go about this. I want to still have a quick synchro play using a Zephyr for Oracle to stack the Metalfoes we're missing, and have like a Locust discard on top of that, I guess. So what I'm gonna do, we'll just risk it. We'll risk it for the biscuit. You know how it is. We're gonna synchro these two. It's in the EMZ because I'm an idiot, and we're gonna use it as the needle fiber material anyway. So we're gonna pop this for Dino Wrestler. The Swanee will summon. I'm thinking either between Bixie and Pulao, because if we summon Pulao, we can do 3 material. I'm trying to think how we want to do this. Yeah. Give me some Bixie. Some Bixie. Boom. For Chiwen. So this board, interestingly enough, is actually exactly what I was saying. So the reason why I summoned Bixie instead of Pulao is because I wanted a level material that could still make something with Locust. In this case, we can make Omega with these two after we use Bixie effect. So what's going to happen is we're going to 9 Pillars. We're going to pop the Chiwen, not only to get into the graveyard, but because we need these other two in the field to summon Zephyr Neo. Zephyr Neo from Chiwen effect. And I don't know if you guys knew this, but all the non-tuner, non-pendulum Yang Zings, the quick synchro effect, doesn't actually require that you use them as a material. It just says synchro summon using only Yang Zing monsters you control. So if we have Jiaotu and Zephyr Neo right here, then Bixie effect will let these two synchro without ever using this. And then, so boom, into Baxia. We'll have stacking Oracle. We'll stack Oracle. And then that's already 2 cards. That's 3 cards gone. We negated something. We shuffle 2. Optimally speaking, we shuffle 2. And then we get to rip 2 cards out. So that's 5 cards. Optimally. I mean, they might force out the Baxia with like something else, maybe. If they normal summon and attack over the Chiwen, we would just summon like literally any other Yang Zing, because we'll just pop that to summon the Zephyr Neo. If they try to attack over Halki Firebrax, we'll summon Locust in defense mode. And that's a pretty big chunky defense. It's like 2200, I think. 2400. Let me see. 2400. Yeah, they're not really beating over that with a normal summon. Without, it's hard to imagine them summoning a monster big enough that doesn't without using effects. What are you fucking playing against Cubics or something? If you're playing against Cubics, then 9 Pillars kind of fucks Cubics anyway. So because they're not going to be able to get the second attack without being susceptible to it. Yeah, it's just interesting to think about. still a pretty decent board. I mean, you'll get the, if everything plays out the way it should, you sequence your plays correctly, you'll get the Metalfoes access from Oracle stacking, and then Baxia can either shuffle a scale. I guess another thing, they only summon one card. I think for me, I would Baxia shuffle the scale, just because I really just want this gone, right? And I really want the Metalfoes to be in scale. And in that instance, you gotta make sure that you make Oracle effect chainlink 1, Baxia effect chainlink 2, just so your Baxia shuffling your scale doesn't mess up your stacking you do with Oracle. But you know, pretty long video, almost an hour, 55 minutes. You know, it's pretty good. I hope if you guys want to see more stuff like this, just kind of sitting down, just talking about combos and stuff, you know, we can do that. You know, something, you know, not really intensive, kind of like a low effort kind of thing, just to slowly get back into making YouTube content. Hopefully, I can get a replay set up. I really, in my dream of how my videos will look, I hope I can do some editing, you know, maybe some like, you know, 5th grade PowerPoint transitions. Ooh, like transition from the deck list, you do a little flip screen into replays or something funny like that, you know, that'd be really sick to do. But until then, just kind of just recording an Edo Pro screen is what we're doing right now. So I just hope we get to involve our concept pretty soon. I just got to figure out how I want to do that. I'm just kind of mumbling right now. But thanks for watching. If you sat through this whole thing, I really appreciate it. I mean, thanks, you know, for watching my content. Really appreciate it. If you want more help with the deck, if you have any questions or anything, you can join the Discord. I'm basically always just like lurking around, you know, seeing what other people are talking about. If they have questions, I try to answer it to the best of my abilities. So, because I just want everyone to have a good time with this deck, because I love this deck, obviously. It's literally the only deck I play. Like, I play, like, as a deck that I use, I don't know. You know what I mean. You know, obviously, I tinker out the other decks just to learn them. Just to see how they operate, in case I ever play against them, stuff like that. But this is the only deck I'd ever bring to an event, is what I'm saying. I love this deck, so thanks for watching. No time frame next video, I don't know, next time frame, but hopefully within a reasonable time, within a reasonable time frame. But yeah, DUI Duelist, peace out. Thanks for watching.